Lily Dawson had always been the kind of person who found joy in small things. At just 19 years old, she carried a warmth that made people smile without her even trying. Every Saturday morning, rain or shine, she would set up her little brownie stand near Maplewood Park. It wasn't much, just a foldable table covered with a red and white checkered cloth, a few trays of freshly baked brownies, and a handmade sign that read, "Lily's Sweet Treats." But for Lily, it was more than a business. It was a way to bring happiness to others while supporting herself and her younger brother, Jake. Jake was only 14, but he loved helping his sister bake. Together, they spent Friday nights mixing chocolate, sugar, eggs, and butter, experimenting with flavors like peanut butter swirl and mint chocolate chip. Their shared love for baking gave them something special, a bond stronger than words could describe. And every week, no matter how tired they were after hours in the kitchen, seeing the smiles on customers' faces made it all worth it. Maplewood was the perfect place for Lily's brownie stand. The park buzzed with activity on weekends, families, picnicking under shady trees, kids chasing each other across open fields, joggers weaving through winding paths. People often stopped by Lily's stand to grab a sweet treat before continuing their day. Some became regulars like Mrs. Harper, an elderly woman who always bought 2 brownies, one for herself and one for her cat-loving granddaughter. Then, there was Mr. Carter, a retired teacher who joked that Lily's desserts were the only reason he still came to the park. But not everything about running the stand was easy. Sometimes the weather didn't cooperate and wind threatened to blow away her napkins. Other times sales were slow, leaving Lily worried about whether she'd make enough money to cover costs. Still, she never let those challenges get her down. She believed in hard work and kindness, and she trusted that good things would come if she stayed true to herself. On this particular Saturday, the sun shone brightly overhead, casting golden light over the park. Birds chirped cheerfully and the air smelled faintly of freshly cut grass. Lily arrived early, setting up her table near the entrance where foot traffic was highest. By 10 a.m., she was ready to go, arranging her brownies neatly on trays and tying her apron around her waist. Her blonde hair was pulled back into a ponytail, and her bright blue eyes sparkled with excitement. Today felt different somehow, though she couldn't quite put her finger on why. As the morning wore on, business picked up steadily. Families strolled by, some stopping to admire the display of gooey chocolate treats. A young couple bought 4 brownies, laughing as they debated which flavor looked best. A group of kids begged their parents for dessert, promising to share, though everyone knew they probably wouldn't. Each sale brought Lily a sense of accomplishment, and she greeted every customer with a friendly "thank you" and a warm smile. Around noon, however, the atmosphere began to change. A loud rumble echoed through the park, growing louder until it drowned out the peaceful sounds of nature. Lily turned toward the noise and saw a group of bikers riding into the parking lot. There were 5 of them, all dressed in leather jackets and boots, their motorcycles gleaming in the sunlight. They parked haphazardly, ignoring the designated spaces, and dismounted with an air of arrogance that made passers-by glance nervously in their direction. The leader of the group stepped forward, and Lily immediately noticed him. He was tall and muscular, with a scruffy beard and cold gray eyes that seemed to scan the area for trouble. His name was Carl Briggs, though Lily didn't know that yet. Carl swaggered toward the park entrance, his heavy boots crunching against the gravel path. Behind him, his friends laughed loudly, their voices carrying across the open space. Parents grabbed their children's hands and hurried away, sensing that these strangers didn't belong here. Carl's gaze landed on Lily's brownie stand, and for a moment, he simply stared. Lily felt a chill run down her spine, though she tried to ignore it. She plastered a polite smile on her face and hoped he would keep walking. Instead, he approached her table, his shadow looming large as he stopped directly in front of her. "What do we have here?" Carl asked, his voice low and mocking. He gestured at the trays of brownies with a smirk. "Looks like someone thinks they're running a fancy bakery." Lily swallowed hard, forcing herself to stay calm. "Hi," she said softly. "Would you like to try a brownie? I have chocolate chip, peanut butter swirl, and mint chocolate." Carl raised an eyebrow, clearly amused by her politeness. How much? $2 each, Lily replied, pointing to the small chalkboard where she'd written the prices. Carl chuckled darkly, shaking his head. $2? That's steep for something so tiny. He leaned closer, invading her personal space. Tell you what, I'll take a free sample. You can give me one, right? Lily hesitated, unsure how to respond. She didn't want to offend him, but giving away free samples wasn't part of her plan. Every penny counted, especially since she relied on the money to help pay bills and contribute to the animal shelter she cared so much about. I'm sorry, she said finally, her voice trembling slightly. I can't give away samples. This is how I support myself. Carl's expression hardened instantly. Any trace of humor vanished, replaced by anger. You're refusing me? He growled, taking another step closer. Do you know who I am? Lily shook her head, clutching the edge of the table behind her. No, I don't, she admitted. But please, I'm just trying to run my stand. Oh, you're just running your stand, huh? Carl sneered. He reached out suddenly, grabbing one of the trays of brownies and flipping it onto the ground. Chocolate treats scattered everywhere, crushed beneath his boot as he stepped forward again. Maybe now you'll understand what happens when you disrespect me. Tears welled up in Lily's eyes, but she refused to let them fall. She backed, away instinctively, her heart pounding in her chest. Carl towered over her, his presence threatening and overwhelming. For a moment, it seemed like time stood still. No one moved, no one spoke. Even the birds had gone silent, as if they too were holding their breath. In the distance, a jogger slowed down, watching the scene unfold. Others in the park pretended not to notice, averting their eyes and hurrying along. Fear rippled through the crowd, palpable and suffocating. Lily felt completely alone, trapped between her overturned table and the menacing figure blocking her escape. Just as Carl raised his hand, preparing to shove her to the ground, two figures appeared at the edge of the park. They moved swiftly, purposefully, drawing everyone's attention. One was a tall, athletic woman with short blonde hair and piercing eyes. The other was shorter but equally strong-looking, with fiery red hair tied back in a ponytail. Though neither wore uniforms or badges, their confident strides and determined expressions left no doubt. They were there to help. And so, what started as an ordinary Saturday afternoon in Maplewood took a dramatic turn, setting the stage for an unforgettable encounter that would leave its mark on everyone involved. As Carl Briggs loomed over Lily Dawson, his hand raised and ready to strike, the two women who had just entered the scene wasted no time. The taller of the two, with short blonde hair and a commanding presence, stepped forward quickly, her eyes locked onto Carl. Her name was Ronda Rousey, though no one in the park knew that yet. She moved with purpose, her athletic build and confident demeanor making it clear she wasn't someone to mess with. Hey, Ronda called out sharply, her voice cutting through the tense silence like a knife. Leave her alone. Carl froze for a split second, surprised by the interruption. He turned his head slowly to see who had dared to speak up, his cold gray eyes narrowing as he took in the sight of Ronda and her companion. The shorter woman, Beth Phoenix, stood slightly behind Ronda, but radiated just as much strength. With fiery red hair and a steady gaze, Beth looked ready for anything. What's it to you? Carl snapped, his tone dripping with hostility. He straightened up, turning fully toward the two women. His friends, who had been lingering nearby, exchanged uneasy glances but didn't step in. Not yet. Ronda crossed her arms over her chest, unimpressed by Carl's attempt to intimidate her. I said leave her alone, she repeated firmly, taking another step closer. You're causing trouble where you don't belong. Beth joined Ronda's side now, her arms crossed too. Yeah, and trust me, you don't want to start something here, she added, her voice calm but laced with warning. Despite her smaller frame, there was an undeniable fierceness about her that made Carl hesitate. For a moment, the park seemed frozen in time. Families and joggers watched from a safe distance, unsure whether to feel relieved or terrified. Lily remained rooted to the spot, her heart still racing. She clutched the edge of her overturned table, trying to process what was happening. Part of her wanted to run, but another part, a tiny spark of hope, told her these two women might actually be able to help. Carl's lips curled into a sneer as he sized up Ronda and Beth. "Who are you supposed to be? Some kind of heroes?" he mocked, letting out a harsh laugh. "This ain't your fight." "It is now," Ronda shot back, without missing a beat. Her voice was steady, unwavering. She didn't flinch under Carl's glare. Instead, she stared right back at him, daring him to make a move. The tension in the air grew thicker with each passing second. Carl glanced at his friends, silently asking for backup. One of them, a wiry man with a scruffy beard, cracked his knuckles and took a step forward, while another, a burly guy with tattoos covering his arms, nodded in agreement. They were outnumbered, sure, but they weren't backing down easily. "All right, fine," Carl growled, stepping away from Lily and toward Ronda. "Let's see what you've got." Before anyone could react, Carl lunged at Ronda, swinging his fist wildly. But Ronda was faster. She sidestepped effortlessly, grabbing Carl's arm mid-swing and twisting it behind his back with practiced precision. Carl let out a grunt of pain, stumbling forward as Ronda applied pressure. For such a petite woman, she possessed incredible strength, and Carl quickly realized he'd underestimated her. Meanwhile, Beth sprang into action when two of Carl's friends charged at her. The first one came at her with a punch, but Beth ducked beneath it, using her momentum to deliver a swift kick to his stomach. He doubled over, gasping for air, as Beth spun around to face the second attacker. This one tried to grab her from behind, but she countered by elbowing him in the ribs and then flipping him onto the ground with a move that looked almost choreographed. The remaining bikers hesitated, unsure what to do next. Their leader was on his knees, groaning in pain, and their toughest guys were already down. It was clear they'd picked the wrong people to mess with. Finally, after exchanging nervous looks, they decided retreat was their best option. Carl struggled to his feet, clutching his sore arm and glaring daggers at Ronda. "You haven't seen the last of us," he snarled, though his threat lacked conviction. He signaled for his gang to follow him, and within moments they climbed onto their motorcycles and sped off, leaving behind a cloud of dust and the scattered remains of Lily's brownie stand. The park erupted into murmurs as the danger passed. Parents hugged their children tightly, grateful the confrontation hadn't escalated further. Joggers resumed their runs, shaking their heads in disbelief at what they'd witnessed. And Lily, still standing near her overturned table, finally allowed herself to breathe again. Ronda and Beth turned their attention to her immediately. "Are you okay?" Ronda asked gently, her tone softening now that the threat was gone. She placed a reassuring hand on Lily's shoulder, studying her face for any signs of injury. Lily nodded shakily, tears streaming down her cheeks. Yeah, I think so," she stammered. "Thank you. I don't know what would have happened if you hadn't shown up." Beth knelt down beside Lily, picking up one of the crushed brownies from the ground. "Looks like we got here just in time," she said with a small smile, trying to lighten the mood. "These look amazing, by the way. Shame they ended up like this." Despite everything, Lily managed a weak laugh. "Thanks," she whispered, wiping her eyes with the back of her hand. I can't believe you did that for me." Ronda shook her head. "We couldn't just stand by and do nothing," she said simply. "No one deserves to be treated like that." As the adrenaline began to fade, Lily noticed the crowd gathering around her. People were offering words of encouragement, patting her on the back and promising to buy more brownies once she set up shop again. Someone even handed her a napkin to wipe her tears. It was overwhelming, but in a good way. For the first time, since Carl had arrived, Lily felt surrounded by kindness rather than fear. One woman, Mrs. Harper, the elderly regular who always bought 2 brownies, approached Lily with a determined look on her face. "Don't worry, dear," she said firmly. "We'll help you clean this up, and tomorrow we'll organize something special to support you. You shouldn't have to deal with this alone." Others chimed in, agreeing with Mrs. Harper. A teenage boy offered to retrieve Lily's table from the grass, while a young mother volunteered to sweep up the crumbs. Even Mr. Carter, the retired teacher, pitched in, helping stack the undamaged brownies back onto a tray. Slowly but surely, the chaos Carl had caused began to disappear, replaced by a sense of community and solidarity. Through it all, Rhonda and Beth stayed close to Lily, ensuring she felt safe and supported. They introduced themselves properly, explaining that they were visiting Maplewood for the weekend and had stumbled upon the scene purely by chance. Both women expressed admiration for Lily's courage and resilience, telling her how inspiring it was to see someone so young, working hard to make a difference. By the time the sun began to dip below the horizon, the park had returned to its usual, peaceful state. Lily's stand was tidier, though far from perfect, and her spirits had lifted considerably. She thanked everyone who had helped, including Rhonda and Beth, promising never to forget their bravery. As Rhonda and Beth prepared to leave, Lily stopped them for a moment. "Wait," she said, reaching into the cooler where she kept extra brownies. She pulled out 2 perfectly intact treats and held them out. "Please take these, it's the least I can do to say thank you." Rhonda and Beth exchanged a glance before accepting the gifts with smiles. "We'll hold you to that least," Beth joked, earning a laugh from Lily. "But seriously, you're stronger than you think. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise." With that, the 2 women waved goodbye and disappeared down the path, leaving Lily to reflect on the day's events. Though it had started as an ordinary Saturday, it had turned into something unforgettable, an experience that reminded her of the power of kindness, courage, and the incredible impact strangers could have on each other's lives. The next morning, Lily Dawson woke up feeling like she'd been through a whirlwind. Her body ached from the stress of the previous day, and her mind replayed every moment of the confrontation with Carl Briggs over and over again. But despite the lingering fear, there was also a sense of gratitude that filled her heart. She couldn't stop thinking about Ronda Rousey and Beth Phoenix, the 2 women who had stepped in when no one else dared to. They had saved her, not just from physical harm, but from losing faith in humanity altogether. Lily decided to head back to the park early, hoping to clean up the last bits of debris from her stand and maybe even set up again if she felt ready. When she arrived, however, she found that someone had already beaten her to it. A group of neighbors had gathered near her usual spot, armed with brooms, trash bags, and even fresh flowers. Mrs. Harper stood at the center of the group, directing everyone with surprising authority for someone her age. "Good morning, dear," Mrs. Harper said warmly when she spotted Lily. "We thought we'd give you a hand today. No need to worry about a thing." Lily blinked back tears as she looked around at the familiar faces. There was Mr. Carter, sweeping crumbs off the grass. The teenage boy who often bought brownies after soccer practice, carefully setting up her table. And several other locals she recognized from the park. Even people she didn't know well had shown up, eager to help. Someone handed her a cup of coffee, while another placed a comforting hand on her shoulder. "You didn't have to do all this," Lily murmured, overwhelmed by their kindness. I don't even know what to say." Mrs. Harper waved her hand dismissively. "Nonsense. This is our community and you're part of it. Besides, those bikers picked the wrong girl to mess with." She winked, earning a laugh from the crowd. As the cleanup continued, word spread quickly throughout Maplewood about what had happened. By mid-morning, more people began showing up, not just to help, but to show their support. Some brought baked goods to replace the ones Carl had destroyed, while others offered donations or volunteered to spread the word about Lily's stand. A local artist even painted a new sign for her, complete with colorful designs and bold lettering. "Lily's Sweet Treats, made with love." But the most unexpected visitor of all was Officer Daniels, a friendly police officer who patrolled the area regularly. He approached Lily with a gentle smile, holding a notebook in one hand. "Hey, Lily," he said kindly. "I heard about what happened yesterday. Are you okay?" Lily nodded, though she still felt a little shaken. "Yeah, I'm fine. Thanks." To those 2 women who stepped in, Officer Daniels nodded thoughtfully. "Rhonda and Beth, right? I've already talked to them, and they gave me a full account of what happened. We're going to keep an eye out for Carl and his gang. If they come back, we'll be ready." Hearing those words gave Lily a small sense of relief. Knowing that the police were aware of the situation made her feel safer, even if the memory of Carl's menacing glare still lingered in her mind. Still, she couldn't shake the feeling that this wasn't over, that somehow Carl would return to cause more trouble. Later that afternoon, after the cleanup was finished and her stand was set up once again, Lily took a moment to sit on a nearby bench and reflect. The park buzzed with life just as it always did, but now it felt different. People weren't just passing by anymore. They were stopping to talk to her, offering words of encouragement and sharing stories of their own struggles. It was as if the entire community had rallied around her, determined to make sure she knew she wasn't alone. One woman, whose name Lily didn't catch, knelt beside her and handed her a small envelope. "This is for you," the woman said softly. "We collected a little something to help you get back on your feet." Curious, Lily opened the envelope and gasped when she saw the cash inside. There were bills of all denominations, far more than she'd expected. Tears welled up in her eyes as she realized how much her neighbors cared. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice trembling. "Really, thank you so much." The woman smiled and patted her hand. "You deserve it. Keep doing what you're doing, it makes a difference." As the day went on, Lily noticed something else changing too, her perspective. Before yesterday, she'd viewed her brownie stand as just a way to earn money. Now it felt like something bigger, a symbol of resilience, kindness, and the power of community. Every sale felt like a victory, every smile from a customer a reminder that good could triumph over bad. By evening, Lily packed up her things, exhausted but happy. Jake greeted her at home with a big hug, having heard about everything from a neighbor. "You're amazing, sis," he said proudly. "I'm glad those ladies helped you, but I'm not surprised you handled it so well." Lily laughed, ruffling his hair affectionately. "Thanks, Jake, and thanks for helping me bake all these brownies. We sold out today because of you." Jake beamed at the compliment, but then his expression turned serious. "Do you think those guys will come back?" Lily hesitated, unsure how to answer. "I don't know," she admitted. "But if they do, we'll handle it together. We've got each other. And we've got Maplewood." Over the next few days, life in Maplewood returned to its usual rhythm. Families returned to the park, kids played on the swings, and joggers resumed their daily routes. Yet the incident with Carl Briggs remained a topic of conversation, sparking discussions about safety and standing up against bullies. Many praised Ronda and Beth for their bravery, calling them heroes. Others expressed admiration for Lily, saying she'd handled herself with incredible courage under pressure. Meanwhile, Ronda and Beth stayed in touch with Lily, checking in regularly to see how she was doing. They invited her to join them for lunch one afternoon, treating her to burgers at a cozy diner downtown. Over milkshakes and fries, they shared stories from their own lives, about the challenges they'd faced and the lessons they'd learned along the way. "You know," Ronda said between bites, "it's easy to feel powerless when someone tries to intimidate you. But the truth is, you have more strength than you realize. Don't let anyone take that away from you." Beth nodded, in agreement. "And remember, you don't have to face things alone. Whether it's us, your brother, or your neighbors, there are always people willing to stand by you." Lily listened intently, soaking in their words like a sponge. She realized that what had happened wasn't just about surviving an attack. It was about finding her voice, embracing her inner strength and leaning on others when she needed support. For the first time in days, she felt genuinely hopeful about the future. That hope grew stronger as the week went on. Inspired by the outpouring of love from her community, Lily decided to use her platform to give back even more. She partnered with the animal shelters she supported, hosting a special fundraising event where a portion of her profits would go directly to helping stray animals find homes. Flyers were posted around town, and soon enough the park was busier than ever, filled with people eager to contribute to a good cause. On the day of the event, Lily stood behind her table, watching as families lined up to buy brownies. Kids giggled as they chose their favorite flavors, while parents chatted about adopting pets. Even Mrs. Harper showed up, accompanied by her granddaughter, who immediately fell in love with a playful golden retriever named Max. As the sun set and the event drew to a close, Lily looked around at the smiling faces and wagging tails, feeling a deep sense of fulfillment. She'd started with just a simple brownie stand, but now she'd created something much bigger, a movement fueled by kindness, compassion, and the belief that even the smallest actions could make a difference. Little did she know, her journey was only beginning. The days following the fundraising event at Maplewood Park were some of the busiest yet for Lily Dawson. Word had spread quickly about her efforts to support the animal shelter, and people from neighboring towns began visiting just to try her brownies and show their support. What started as a small stand near the park entrance had grown into something much bigger, a symbol of hope and resilience that inspired everyone who encountered it. Lily worked tirelessly, waking up early each morning to bake fresh batches of brownies alongside Jake. The kitchen became their sanctuary, filled with the sweet aroma of chocolate and laughter as they experimented with new flavors. Mint chocolate chip remained a favorite, but they also introduced seasonal specials like pumpkin spice in the fall and peppermint swirl during the holidays. Customers loved the variety, and soon enough, Lily's Sweet Treats was known far beyond Maplewood. Despite her growing success, Lily couldn't shake the thought of Carl Briggs and his gang. Officer Daniels had assured her that the police were keeping an eye out for them, but no sightings had been reported since the day of the attack. While part of her hoped they'd left town for good, another part worried they might return. She didn't want to live in fear, but she knew better than to let her guard down completely. One afternoon, as Lily packed up her stand after a busy day, she noticed a familiar figure jogging through the park. It was Ronda Rousey, still dressed, in her workout gear, her blonde hair tied back in a ponytail. Ronda slowed down when she saw Lily and waved, jogging over with a friendly smile. "Hey, Lily," Ronda said, catching her breath. "How's everything going?" Lily smiled, feeling a rush of gratitude at seeing her again. "It's going great, actually. Thanks to you and Beth, I feel like I've turned a corner." Ronda chuckled, shaking her head modestly. "You did all the hard work yourself. We just gave you a little push." "Well, I'm glad you did," Lily replied, her tone sincere. "I couldn't have gotten through that day without you." They chatted for a while, catching up on how things had been since their last meeting. Ronda mentioned that she and Beth planned to visit Maplewood more often, having fallen in love with its charm and friendly community. Before leaving, Ronda handed Lily a business card. "If you ever need anything, advice, help, or even just someone to talk to, don't hesitate to reach out. You've got friends now." Lily tucked the card into her pocket, touched by the gesture. Knowing she had such strong allies gave her a renewed sense of confidence. As she walked home, she realized how much she'd grown over the past few weeks. Not just as a baker or entrepreneur, but as a person. She felt braver, stronger, and more connected to those around her. A few days later, Lily received an unexpected invitation. A local school teacher named Mr. Peterson reached out, asking if she'd be interested in speaking to his students about entrepreneurship and overcoming challenges. At first, Lily hesitated, unsure if she had anything valuable to share. But after some encouragement from Mrs. Harper and Jake, she agreed. On the day of the presentation, Lily stood nervously in front of a classroom full of curious fifth graders. They listened intently as she told her story, from starting her brownie stand to facing Carl Briggs and finding strength in her community. She showed them pictures of her setup at the park, shared recipes, and talked about the importance of believing in oneself. When she finished, the room erupted in applause. One student raised his hand and asked, "What do you do when someone tries to scare you?" Lily thought for a moment before answering. "It's okay to feel scared sometimes," she said honestly. "But remember, you're never really alone. There are always people who care about you and want to help. And most importantly, don't let anyone make you forget how amazing you are." Her words resonated deeply with the children, many of whom came up afterward to thank her. Some promised to start their own projects, inspired by her example, while others simply hugged her goodbye. For Lily, it was one of the most rewarding experiences of her life. As autumn settled in, bringing cooler temperatures and vibrant red, leaves, Lily decided to expand her efforts even further. With the money she'd raised from her brownie sales, she organized a community event called Sweet Saturdays. Every weekend, local artists, musicians, and vendors gathered in the park to showcase their talents and sell handmade goods. Families flocked to the festivities, turning Maplewood into a hub of creativity and joy. One Saturday, as Lily bustled around her table restocking brownies, she spotted Beth Phoenix walking toward her. Beth wore a bright yellow sweater and carried a basket filled with apples. "Thought I'd stop by and see how the Queen of Desserts is doing," Beth joked, setting the basket down. Lily laughed, gesturing for Beth to take a seat. "I'm not sure about Queen, but I'm definitely busier than ever. How are you?" Beth shrugged, grinning. "Can't complain, just enjoying this beautiful town of yours. Oh, and look what I brought." She pulled out a caramel apple from her basket and handed it to Lily. "Figured you could use a break from all the chocolate." Lily took a bite, savoring the sweet and tangy flavor. "This is amazing," she said, smiling. "Thank you." Beth leaned back, watching the crowd with satisfaction. "You know, I think you're onto something with these events. People love coming together like this. It reminds them what's important." Lily nodded, her eyes scanning the park. Children laughed as they chased bubbles blown by a street performer. Couples strolled hand in hand under the golden trees, and musicians strummed guitars nearby. It was a scene straight out of a storybook, and Lily felt proud to have played a role in creating it. But not everything was perfect. Late one evening, as Lily closed up her stand, she noticed something unusual: tire tracks leading into the grass near her usual spot. Her heart sank as she followed the marks, discovering deep ruts where motorcycles had clearly skidded across the ground. A sinking feeling washed over her. Had Carl and his gang returned? She immediately called Officer Daniels, who arrived within minutes to assess the damage. Though nothing appeared stolen or destroyed, the message was clear. Carl was sending a warning. Despite the police stepping up patrols in the area, Lily couldn't shake the unease that crept into her mind. That night she lay awake, staring at the ceiling. Memories of Carl's menacing glare flooded back, making her chest tighten. Was she safe? Would he come after her again? Just as doubt began to creep in, she remembered the faces of her supporters. Mrs. Harper, Mr. Carter, the kind strangers who had helped rebuild her stand, and especially Ronda and Beth. Their belief in her gave her courage. The next morning, Lily made a decision. Instead of letting fear dictate her actions, she chose to focus on what truly mattered: her dreams, her community, and the positive impact she could make. She doubled down on her efforts, pouring even more energy into her stand and the events she hosted. If Carl wanted to intimidate her, he'd have to try harder than this. Over time, the tire tracks faded and the threat seemed to dissipate. Whether Carl had moved on or simply given up, Lily didn't know, and she didn't care. What mattered was that she had faced her fears head-on and emerged stronger because of it. By winter, Lily's sweet treats had become a staple in Maplewood, beloved by locals and visitors alike. Her story had spread far and wide, inspiring countless others to pursue their passions and stand up for what they believed in. And though she knew challenges would always arise, Lily faced them with unwavering determination, knowing she had a community and two extraordinary heroes standing firmly by her side. Winter settled gently over Maplewood, blanketing the park in a soft layer of snow. The air grew crisp, and the trees stood bare, their branches reaching toward the pale gray sky like skeletal fingers. For Lily Dawson, the change in seasons brought both challenges and opportunities. Her brownie stand had always thrived in warmer weather, but she refused to let the cold slow her down. Instead, she adapted, adding hot cocoa and spiced cider to her menu to warm up customers braving the chill. Each morning, Lily bundled up in a thick coat, scarf, and gloves, trudging through the snow to set up her stand near the park entrance. A small portable heater kept her hands from freezing as she arranged trays of freshly baked treats on the table. Despite the frosty temperatures, people still came, some drawn by the promise of warmth, others by the comforting smell of chocolate wafting through the air. Lily's determination never wavered. If anything, it grew stronger with each passing. Jake helped more than ever during this time, waking up early to assist with baking and delivering orders around town. Together, they experimented with new recipes tailored for winter. Gingerbread brownies, peppermint fudge squares, and even a rich eggnog-flavored treat that quickly became a holiday favorite. Their creativity paid off, earning them praise from regulars and newcomers alike. One particularly cold Saturday, as Lily served a line of bundled-up customers, she spotted a familiar face walking toward her. It was Beth Phoenix, wrapped in a bright red coat and holding 2 steaming cups of coffee. She handed one to Lily with a grin. "Thought you could use a pick-me-up," she said cheerfully. Lily accepted the cup gratefully, taking a sip of the warm liquid. "You have no idea how much I needed this," she admitted, smiling. "Thanks, Beth." Beth glanced at the bustling crowd, clearly impressed. "Looks like business is booming. You've really built something special here." "It's not just me," Lily replied modestly. "Everyone in Maplewood has been so supportive. Without them, I don't think I'd have made it this far." Beth nodded thoughtfully. "That's the thing about communities. They lift you up when you need it most. Speaking of which," she hesitated for a moment before continuing. "Ronda, and I wanted to check in because we heard rumors about Carl Briggs." Lily's smile faltered slightly. Though she hadn't seen any sign of Carl or his gang since the tire tracks weeks earlier, the mere mention of his name sent a shiver down her spine. "I haven't seen him," she admitted quietly. "But I know he's out there somewhere. Sometimes I wonder if he'll come back." Beth placed a reassuring hand on Lily's shoulder. "If he does, we'll be ready. And remember, you're not alone anymore. You've got us and everyone else who believes in you." Her words brought comfort, but they also reminded Lily of the fragility of safety. Even in a close-knit town like Maplewood, threats could linger just beneath the surface. Still, she chose to focus on the positives, the kindness of strangers, the joy her brownies brought to others, and the friendships she'd forged along the way. As December approached, the town prepared for its annual winter festival, a cherished tradition featuring twinkling lights, carolers, and festive decorations lining the streets. This year, however, organizers decided to include something new, a bake sale fundraiser to support local charities. Naturally, Lily was invited to participate. The festival took place in the heart of downtown, transforming the usually quiet square into a lively gathering spot. Booths lined the sidewalks, offering everything from handmade crafts to homemade jams. Lily's booth, decorated with strings of fairy lights and a large banner reading "Lily's Sweet Treats," attracted a steady stream of visitors eager to sample her creations. Among the crowd was Ronda Rousey, who stopped by with a wide smile. "Looks like you're the star of the show," she teased, eyeing the long line of customers waiting to buy brownies. Lily laughed nervously, wiping flour from her hands. "I wouldn't say that, but I'm definitely keeping busy." "You should be proud," Ronda said sincerely. "Not many people could turn a simple idea into something this big. You inspire people, Lily." Her words meant more to Lily than she could express. Over the past few months, she'd come to see herself differently, not just as a girl selling brownies, but as someone capable of making a difference. It wasn't about fame or recognition. It was about connection, resilience, and finding purpose in the little things. Later that evening, as the festival wound down and the last of the customers left, Lily packed up her supplies with Jake's help. They worked quietly, the only sounds being the crunch of snow underfoot and the distant hum of Christmas music playing from a nearby speaker. Despite the exhaustion, Lily felt content, a deep, satisfying kind of happiness that came from knowing she'd done good work. Just as they were finishing, Officer Daniels appeared, his breath visible in the frosty air. "Hey, Lily," he greeted her warmly. "How'd it go today?" "Great," she replied, smiling. "We sold out faster than I expected." "That's wonderful," he said, nodding approvingly. Then, his expression turned serious. Listen, I wanted to update you on something. We finally caught Carl Briggs. Lily froze, her heart skipping a beat. What? Where? He and his gang were arrested in a neighboring town, Officer Daniels explained. They've been linked to several incidents of vandalism and harassment. Looks like your case helped bring them down. Relief washed over Lily, followed by a wave of gratitude. She hadn't realized how much weight she'd been carrying until that moment. Thank you, she whispered, tears welling up in her eyes, for everything. Officer Daniels tipped his hat with a small smile. Just doing my job. Take care, Lily. With Carl Briggs behind bars, Lily felt a sense of closure she hadn't known she needed. The fear that had lingered in the back of her mind began to fade, replaced by hope and optimism for the future. She threw herself into her work with renewed energy, determined to make the most of every opportunity. By the end of the year, Lily's sweet treats had become more than just a brownie stand. It was a symbol of perseverance, kindness, and the power of community. People from all walks of life visited her booth, sharing stories of their own struggles and triumphs. Some came seeking advice, while others simply wanted to thank her for reminding them of what was possible. Inspired by the connections she'd made, Lily decided to take her mission a step further. She started hosting workshops for aspiring entrepreneurs, teaching them how to turn their passions into businesses. From teenagers dreaming of opening art studios to retirees hoping to sell homemade jams, her classes welcomed anyone willing to learn. Each session ended with laughter, shared meals, usually involving brownies, and a sense of camaraderie that left participants feeling inspired. Even Ronda and Beth joined in occasionally, sharing their experiences and offering guidance. You're building something truly remarkable here, Ronda told Lily during one such workshop. Never stop believing in yourself. Lily smiled, looking around at the diverse group of faces gathered in her cozy kitchen. I couldn't have done it without all of you, she said softly. This isn't just my story, it's ours. As the new year dawned, bringing promises of fresh starts and endless possibilities, Lily reflected on how far she'd come. What had begun as a humble brownie stand had grown into a movement, a testament to the strength of the human spirit and the beauty of coming together. Challenges would undoubtedly arise again, but Lily faced them with courage, knowing she had a village standing beside her. And so, amidst the warmth of friendship, the sweetness of chocolate, and the magic of Maplewood, Lily Dawson continued to dream big, bake boldly, and live fearlessly, one brownie at a time. The new year brought a fresh wave of energy to Maplewood, and Lily Dawson found herself busier than ever. Her workshops had gained popularity, drawing participants from nearby towns and even neighboring states. People were eager to learn not just about baking, but about building something meaningful, a business rooted in passion and purpose. Lily's kitchen became a hub of creativity and collaboration, filled with laughter, stories, and the comforting smell of chocolate. Each workshop began with Lily sharing her own journey, from setting up her first brownie stand to standing up against Carl Briggs and finding strength in her community. She spoke openly about her fears and doubts, emphasizing that success wasn't about avoiding challenges, but about facing them head-on. Her honesty resonated deeply with her students, many of whom left feeling inspired to pursue their dreams. One participant, a shy woman named Clara, stood out during one session. She rarely spoke at first, keeping to herself as she carefully followed Lily's instructions for making peppermint brownies. But by the end of the day, Clara surprised everyone by presenting a tray of perfectly baked treats adorned with delicate swirls of white chocolate. When Lily praised her work, Clara blushed and admitted it was the first time she'd felt proud of something she'd created. That's what this is all about, Lily said warmly, placing a hand on Clara's shoulder. Finding joy in what you do and sharing it with others. Clara nodded, smiling shyly. Over the following weeks, she returned to every workshop, growing more confident with each visit. Eventually, she launched her own small bakery, crediting Lily for giving her the courage to take the leap. Stories like Clara's reminded Lily why she loved what she did. It wasn't just about brownies. It was about helping people discover their potential. Spring arrived, melting away the remnants of winter snow and breathing new life into Maplewood Park. Flowers bloomed along the pathways, and birds chirped cheerfully in the trees. The park buzzed with activity once again, as families, joggers, and picnickers reclaimed the space. For Lily, spring marked the beginning of another exciting chapter, expanding her brownie stand into a food truck. The idea had been brewing for months, encouraged by Ronda Rousey and Beth, who believed Lily's talents deserved a bigger platform. With their guidance and financial support from generous donors within the community, Lily purchased a bright yellow truck adorned with colorful murals of desserts and flowers. On the side, bold letters spelled out, "Lily's Sweet Treats, made with love." On the day of the grand opening, the park overflowed with people eager to see the new addition. Children tugged at their parents' sleeves, pointing excitedly at the cheerful vehicle, while adults snapped photos and lined up to place orders. Inside the truck, Lily worked alongside Jake, serving up freshly baked brownies, cookies, and seasonal specialties. The line stretched far beyond the entrance, but no one seemed to mind. The anticipation only added to the excitement. Ronda and Beth showed up early, grinning as they surveyed the crowd. "Looks like you've got quite the fan base," Beth joked, leaning against the counter. "I couldn't have done it without you two," Lily replied, handing them each a warm brownie topped with vanilla frosting. "This is your dessert too." Beth took a bite, closing her eyes in delight. "You know, I think we should open a gym next. Maybe call it Phoenix and Rousey Fitness." "What do you say?" Ronda laughed, shaking her head. "One step at a time, Beth. Let's let Lily enjoy her moment first." As the day went on, Lily greeted customers with her usual warmth, thanking them for their support. Many shared how much her story had inspired them, recounting moments when they'd felt discouraged but found hope in her perseverance. Each conversation filled her with gratitude, reinforcing the idea that her journey was never just hers alone. It belonged to everyone who had cheered her on, but not everything was smooth sailing. Running a food truck came with its own set of challenges, from mechanical issues to unpredictable weather. One particularly stormy afternoon, just as Lily finished packing up after a slow day, the engine sputtered and died. Stranded in the middle of the park, she called Jake, who rushed over with tools borrowed from a neighbor. Together, they tinkered, with the engine under the pouring rain, their hands covered in grease and their clothes soaked through. By the time they managed to fix the problem, both were exhausted, but triumphant. As they drove home, Lily looked at Jake and smiled. "We make a pretty good team, don't we?" Jake grinned back. "Yeah, we do. But hey, maybe next time we can avoid the thunderstorms." Despite the occasional setbacks, Lily refused to let anything dampen her spirits. Every challenge taught her something new, whether it was patience, problem-solving, or trusting in her ability to adapt. Slowly but surely, the food truck became a staple in Maplewood, traveling to festivals, school events, and charity fundraisers across the region. One sunny afternoon, as Lily parked her truck near the park for a weekend event, she noticed a familiar figure approaching. It was Mrs. Harper, accompanied by her granddaughter and a golden retriever named Max. The dog wagged his tail furiously, clearly recognizing Lily from past visits. "Max has missed you," Mrs. Harper said with a twinkle in her eye. "He keeps asking for those peanut butter brownies." Lily laughed, bending down to scratch Max behind the ears. "Tell him I'll save him a special batch." Mrs. Harper handed Lily an envelope, her expression softening. "Actually, there's something else I wanted to give you. Open it later, you'll understand." Curious, Lily tucked the envelope into her apron pocket and promised to look at it soon. After the event ended and the crowds dispersed, she finally opened it, her eyes widening in surprise. Inside was a check made out to Lily's Sweet Treats, along with a note. "Dear Lily, thank you for reminding us all what it means to dream big and give generously. This is just a small token of appreciation from the Harper family and from Maplewood. Keep shining, dear. You're making the world a sweeter place." Tears welled up in Lily's eyes as she read the note. The amount was significant enough to cover months of expenses, allowing her to focus on expanding her reach even further. She hugged the envelope tightly, overwhelmed by the kindness of her community. Months passed, and Lily's sweet treats continued to grow. The food truck traveled farther than ever before, introducing her creations to new audiences and earning acclaim wherever it went. Local newspapers wrote articles about her journey, calling her a symbol of resilience and innovation. Even national media picked up her story, featuring her in segments about young entrepreneurs changing their communities. Through it all, Lily remained grounded, never forgetting the lessons she'd learned along the way. She credited her success not to herself but to the people who had supported her: her brother Jake, her mentors Ronda and Beth, Officer Daniels, Mrs. Harper, and countless others who had believed in her when she needed it most. One evening, she sat on her porch watching the sunset paint the sky in hues of orange and pink. Lily reflected on everything she'd accomplished. From a simple brownie stand to a thriving business, her journey had been full of twists and turns, but also love, laughter, and endless possibilities. She thought about Carl Briggs and the fear he had once instilled in her. Though his actions had shaken her deeply, they had also taught her the importance of courage and standing up for oneself. Without that experience, she might never have discovered her own strength or the power of community. As the stars began to twinkle in the night sky, Lily smiled to herself. Life was unpredictable, and challenges would always arise. But she faced them now with confidence, knowing she had a village standing firmly by her side. And so, amidst the sweetness of chocolate, the warmth of friendship, and the magic of Maplewood, Lily Dawson continued to dream boldly, bake passionately, and live fearlessly, one delicious treat at a time.